Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of BIM After Dark Live. I hope everyone is doing great today. I hope you guys can hear me and see me okay. I'm trying a couple different things today, so let me know what you think of the audio video setup and some of the fun things we're gonna have going on. Thank you for joining us. For those of you that don't know, my name is Jeff, also known as the Revit Kid. This is a weekly, I guess you can call it a video podcast, but it's a live stream here on YouTube that anyone can join at any time. If you're returning, thank you so much. If this is your first time joining, make sure you subscribe to the channel here on YouTube so you know when we go live, and also any other videos that I might have posted. So what we do here is we just talk about Revit and BIM and any associated software in that realm. And yeah, that's what we're going to do this week. This week we have a great guest, Nick from Pure Revit, which I'll introduce in a second. And we're going to be talking about railings, which I know everyone out there just loves using railings in Revit. So I'm sure you guys are going to be super interested in some of the awesome things that Nick has to show us. And the other thing I wanted to mention too is if you head over to live.bimafterdark.com, you can see the previous 30 episodes. We've actually done 30 episodes now, which is pretty wild. And last but not least, the chat. This is a live show, and I will be checking out the chat the entire time. So ask questions, interact with each other, interact with me, interact with Nick. I'll be interrupting him throughout the entire episode to bring up whatever it is that you guys want to talk about, maybe questions on what he's saying or maybe somewhat related questions. So please make sure that you guys use the chat and take advantage of the fact that you're here live with us today. And before I jump in and introduce Nick, there's one more thing that I'm really excited to announce. And so with that, I'm gonna play a little video, and then I'm gonna talk a little bit about this. So bear with me for a second and get ready. It's gonna be a little loud. All right, so hopefully that was kind of a cool video for you guys. I'm super excited to announce that this show, the BIM After Dark live show, which is a weekly show as I mentioned before, is officially sponsored by BIM Box. Okay, I never in a million years thought that when I started this show, which was a happy hour essentially back when quarantine began, just drinking wine and talking about Revit, that I would go 31 episodes in a row, as well as be a sponsored show, which is so cool. But for those of you who have been following me for many years now, you know that I don't take things like this lightly. So this is a sponsorship and a partnership that has been over 6 months in the making now. And the one thing that I wanted to make sure when I was first approached by Buck at BIMBox, so Buck, thanks again for reaching out. The one thing I really wanted to make sure was that I believed in the product that I'd be talking about and that would be sponsoring this show. And so what you see behind me right here is actually a BIM box. It is a desktop tower. And I've been putting these things through the test for the past 6 months. I've been using them hardcore, the desktop and the laptop. And I will tell you that they are beast machines, beast computers. And not just beast computers, but beast computers for Revit. So the one thing that really made me gravitate towards BIMBox is the fact that they are PCs that have been developed for Revit. Okay, so very, very few companies can say that. If you've known, I did a couple laptop reviews in the past, and I've mentioned some other machines that I've used. These things are built for what we do, which is for Revit. They're optimized for it, and it shows. The one thing that I did want to mention as far as my use case that really sort of sold me on it, not only the twin motion, Lumion, all that crap. It's got a 2070 graphics card. You know it's going to work, right? But I have a project that I've been working on for 3 years. It is 34 models. It is over 4 gigs worth of models, all linked together into one hospital file. And so that was the one that when I loaded it up on here, spinning around, moving, you can look at benchmarks all day long, and they're a great tool to set a benchmark. But to me, when it comes to using a computer, and I've mentioned this numerous times in the past, I don't care about benchmarks. I care about the way it feels. And these models for the first time in 3 years since I've used them, felt like a little 2,000 square foot house. I mean, this thing was spinning, flipping without any problem. So thank you so much, BIMbox, for sponsoring this episode. A couple things that you guys should know is they have a 3-year warranty, which is phenomenal. They're all overclocked cores, which is probably why they're so great with Revit. The service and the support team, obviously I've been working with them. They're fantastic, and they can deliver any of their machines in 10 to 14 days, even larger orders, which is fantastic. Not somebody sitting in a garage. They've got a space where they're building these machines, and they've got a team that put them together. So if you're interested, head on over to bimbox.bimafterdark.com, or you can email sales@bimboxusa.com. So awesome. Thank you so much, BIMbox, and I hope you guys. Everyone always asks me, what computer should I get for Revit? And now I can say this is the computer that you should get for Revit. So check them out for sure. So thanks again to them. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring in my buddy here, Nick. What's up, man?
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Sorry, that was a little longer than usual that you had to hang out.
No problem. I'm sold. I'm on a BIMbox now.
I'm telling you, they're phenomenal. I won't go on it anymore. You guys are going to hear about it more because they've sponsored numerous episodes, and they are a partner now with the show. So awesome. So Nick, great to see you again. For those of you who maybe are just catching up to the show, Nick joined me back in April. I'll post the link to when he joined last in the comments or the description of the video, as well as in the blog post at the Revit Kid tomorrow, so the revitkid.com. But Nick joined me, and he talked about coordinate systems, which again is one of those things in Revit that I think most people either don't have any idea or understand to the point that they are confident saying they understand them, or they're just so frustrated they don't even touch them. And coincidentally, I think railings are probably under the same category.
Yeah, man. I try to pick these complicated topics. That's what I try to do. Usually I run into problems and I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
I try to investigate.
Yeah.
I try to investigate. Yeah.
And then you share it with the world, right? It's perfect.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So cool. So I guess before we jump into what it is or what we're talking about, Nick reached out when he was in the process of sort of figuring some of this stuff out, and it was probably a month or two ago, and he was like, dude, I'm digging through railings hardcore. Let's set up a date in like 2 months and let's talk about it. And so then finally he had the blog post ready, and so Nick blogs at revitpure.com, so check him out over there. We'll definitely post the link to the blog post and everything. But yeah, so maybe talk about a little bit about what forced you to dig down the Revit railing rabbit hole.
Yeah, but maybe I can share the image that I've sent you about the railings I've been working on.
Most certainly, yeah.
So can you see the image?
No, I think you're sharing the applications again.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. Or it's on the other monitor.
Oh, wait, I'll try again. Or maybe I'll go with this. Do you see the image?
Oh yeah, there we go. So let me share it with everyone else now. There it is.
All right.
Yeah, there's the image.
Yeah, so I've been working on a historic renovation project here in the old Quebec area. So it's a renovation project. The whole interior has to be completely renovated. This is a new stairs, but it had to keep the spirit of the old building. And so I've been working here with Atelier 21 Architects and with the lead designer, Mathieu Lachance. So I want to give full credits. So this is a new stairs with the new railing, but it had to be inspired by the old building. And when he sent me that design, I was like, man, how am I going to do it?
It's so funny. Stairs are one of those things that that's usually when someone draws a stair or something, right, and sketches it, and you're like, yeah, that's awesome, it makes sense. But then as a Revit user, you're like, oh crap.
Yeah, that's right.
So I can see. So this was the project. That was the project that sort of forced you down the rabbit hole then.
Oh yeah. Like in the railings rabbit hole, and I learned so much. I thought I knew a lot about railings, but I realized I didn't. and now I know more.
Awesome. Well, I guess you're gonna share some of it with us, right? So that's the plan
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, the plan. I think later on we'll jump on this specific project, but first
Okay.
I wanted to give some theory. So it's like a real course, like some theory first, and then we'll jump into this
Awesome.
specific
I love it.
railing thing. So let me share Revit now. Uh, um, Wait, I'll share the screen actually because I have my PDF. Okay, is it working? Do you see my Revit?
Yep, we do now.
And if I go, you see the
Yep,
PDF
we see
now?
the PDF as well. Yep.
Okay, so this is basically what I call a pamphlet. I send them 4 times a year, and it's basically a PDF companion to the blog post I made about railings. I guess we'll give a link later if you want to download it. But this all the theory, everything I've learned, I tried to transpose it into this little document. And for now, it's
I have to. Sorry, I have to interrupt really
yeah,
quickly because
yeah.
somebody actually already in the comment said asked the question, and I think it probably sets up the tone for it, which is
Yep.
those stairs look great. So how much of that is stairs, and how much of it is model in place?
Yeah, well, the stairs are a whole other topic. I think maybe it's going to be another amount of research. I'll be honest. When I jumped in the project, the stairs were already created by a generic family.
So the
I,
stairs
I, I
themselves are actually an in place model then?
Yes, and I
Okay.
was tasked with, okay, we already made the stairs. Can you help us with the railings? And it's
A
so
little bit
I
of a
had to
cop out, but
create.
that's okay.
Yes, but what I did, I created a placeholder stair, which is
Mm.
invisible, but allows me to host the railing. So at least I have the
Ah.
right slope.
Got
But
it.
if
I
I
was
had
just
to,
that was my next question. He didn't ask it,
yeah,
but I was gonna say, okay, if there's no
mhm,
stair, what are you hosting
yeah.
to? So there we
So,
go.
so yeah,
Awesome.
it was a placeholder, uh, a stair, but that actually shows up in the plan view, so
Hmm.
we can show the little symbol, and the cut line is automatic. But
Hmm.
in 3D view, we use the generic family.
So you got it
But
close though. You got it close. You had to have the stair to be close. It's just not perfect.
yeah, well, if I was the one doing it from scratch, maybe I would have gone a different route, tried with the
Hmm.
stair stool, but
Hmm.
anyway. So yeah, the stairs, I could, yeah, it could be a whole other topic for sure.
Awesome.
But what I wanted, actually, my research at first, I wanted to get the whole topic of railings out of the way. But for now, I mostly went through the rails.
Hmm.
So there's the top rail, the handrail, and the what I call the intermediate rail. In
Hmm.
Revit, it's also known as non-continuous rails. And so in the document I've created, I lay down the difference between all these types.
Hmm.
Basically, a top rail and handrail have specific types, which you can set materials, offsets, and you can reuse these types in different types of railings.
Hmm.
While what I call intermediate rail, it's actually directly in the railings type itself. So if you create a bunch of intermediate rails, you cannot reuse the same in another different railing family or railing type. So that's the first thing. And basically, let me scroll down. And I've created this little chart here of multiple properties, and I indicate which properties can be used by which rail. So you can see that intermediate rails, there's not a lot of properties you can use. So the hand clearance value, the transition, terminations, extension, custom path, none of that works with intermediate rails, but most of it works with the top rail and the handrail. But there are a few differences between top rail and handrail. Handrail cannot be assigned to balusters. So if you create little balusters, the handrail cannot be assigned to it. But if you create a baluster, you can assign the bottom of it to a rail and the top of it to a top rail, for example, or to an intermediate rail. All of these rails can have a custom profile. And a unique feature is also the supports, which are like holding the rail, but only handrail are able to have this feature used on them. And did I make?
And so, what I want to jump in real quick to let
Yep.
everyone know.
Yeah.
This pamphlet is part of. You can get it at Revit Pure at Nick's blog. And so what we'll do is just because I don't feel like live going to find the post, you can go to revitpure.com and it's the first
Yep.
post, but I'll also have the link to it afterwards and,
Yep.
and all the information. So
Yep.
it's part of the blog post, but you can download the PDF, I believe, right at the end of the blog post, and it's all
Yeah,
packaged
that's right.
there, which is awesome. So if you want to
That's
go
right.
grab it now, guys, go for it. But if not, definitely grab it after the fact.
Well, I can also give a link for all the pamphlets I've made so far.
Sure,
it's
yeah.
It's revitpure.com/free.
All right.
So all the free content is there. All 18 pamphlets are there.
Awesome, including this one. Perfect.
Yeah, including this one. Yeah.
Awesome.
What I did in the blog post and in the pamphlet, I went through all the properties available to all the rails, which some of them are kind of obvious. Many people that use railings for a while might know about it, but there's a lot that I've learned while creating my special project. So the first is assigned to balusters. So let me jump back into Revit. I actually have a Revit file here. Maybe I can find a way to share it when it's done, but I have all the properties and I have it's kind of an exercise file, right? So what I have here, I don't have to do the whole exercise, but I wanted to show this example where what I have here is 2 intermediate rails, also known as non-continuous rails. I have a top rail that is right here, and I have the handrail, which has all these little support families. And if I edit the type of this family, I'm looking at, first you can see the 2 intermediate rails where you can set the different height. I'm choosing a profile here and material. And if I jump to baluster placement, what I've done here is that, so this is not about balusters, but I wanted to show like the base and the top. So the base and the top, you can select, have to be set to either O's or to rails. So all rails are available except for handrails, which cannot be used there. And I have my top rails element and I have my intermediate rails. And as you can see, if I go back to the image, so I have a balusters between the 2 first intermediate rails and a different one above. So the way I do it is, if I look at baluster placement, I have 2 balusters here. The first one, this distance from previous is 100, but the next one, distance from previous is 0. So that means they were going to be aligned. And then it's just the base and the top that are different.
I've actually never even thought of doing that before. And it makes complete sense when you say it now, that because you can host rails, they're the balusters to top, you can, to tops and bottoms, you can host the tops and bottom. I didn't even think about that. You can actually put multiple things. And I'm honestly, the reason I'm bringing that up is if anyone saw the episode I did on topography and site modeling, which I don't know, it was a couple weeks ago, I'll pull a link up for that. But I use railings for all kinds of stuff when it comes to site modeling because they host to topography. And like that there is also super huge if you're not using it for a rail, but you're using like some weird baluster to do something. I can see like even like sheeting and wall stuff and even like retaining walls, being able to host vertically those things and different elements. That's really cool, man. That's neat.
Yeah, that's actually something new that I didn't know about that you could do it.
It makes complete sense though. Now that you're showing it, it does.
It does. Yeah.
I'm so used to it's just going to the railing. It's just going to the railing, right? But the reality is you can put 2 and have them stop and then have a rail and stop and then have a rail. Super.
Yeah, that's right. 2 different types, one above the other.
Which version of Revit? Somebody just asked real quick. Which version of Revit? Maybe you guys can't read it. I'm sorry. My screen share is cutting off the top. It's 2021. I believe.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's the latest one. Yeah.
Sorry, I was before we jumped on. We were 3 minutes late because I was adjusting the screen share thing. So I apologize, guys.
Problem.
You can't see the top, but that means you just can't see his file name. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so that was the first little feature I wanted to talk about. Then maybe this one I'll go kind of fast because I think it's kind of obvious for at least intermediate Revit users. But I have this little exercise here. Maybe I can share the file later. But here I have 2 different profiles that I've used. This one is kind of strange profile, basically like a cat head. But if I go to this view here, I created this profile in 2D, one for the top rail and a different one for the handrail. And I'll just quickly show the family. I don't think I'll have to explain the whole thing,
Hmm.
just maybe the basic principles. But just the important thing to know is that the reference plane that is there by default when you create a railing profile is the top of your railing.
Mm-hmm.
So just make sure that the highest point on the profile matches the line, and that also the default center reference line is the center of your profile.
Mm-hmm. So now, let me ask you
Yep.
then the in your studies, so the top rail makes sense, but now the
Yeah.
balusters, if you have them going to the rail, are they looking for the actual geometry, or are they looking for, because they see, look, they're stopping at the bottom of that
Mm-hmm.
profile, but
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
so it must be
Yeah.
using geometry then, I guess.
Well, if I zoom in, I think they just go to the bottom, like the lowest point of
The
the
lowest
railing.
point of
And
whatever shape
yeah,
it is. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and they stop there. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Makes
as,
sense.
as you can
Makes
see,
sense.
it doesn't extend to that point.
Mm-hmm. I was curious if there was another reference plane or something that told us that, but I don't believe that's the case.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Interesting.
So let me go back here. You know what? I think I'm gonna jump right into terminations since it's kind of linked into this.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I have these two profiles. In the case, for example, it's a real life case that I had with the project I've shown earlier, where if you're using this, for example, it's kind of a very sharp edge, and people can get injured if they don't look where they're going and they stab themselves in the stomach. So when I was designing the other patrimonial project I was showing earlier, we figured that we needed something kind of close the end of the railing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I thought, you know what, I think we could use terminations. I actually never really used terminations before.
Is that what it's there for? Terminations? No way.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, no,
So,
I knew that it existed, but I also never.
mm-hmm.
I think anytime I've ever
Mm-hmm.
terminated a rail, usually it's a commercial
Mm-hmm.
project, and it's really
Yeah,
just the actual
yeah.
the path of the rail kind of goes and
Mm-hmm.
terminates, right? So I never really had a
Yeah.
condition where I had to use terminators, but now, or terminations, but now I guess
Yeah.
I guess we're gonna see a condition.
Yeah, I think that the default Autodesk family is kind of a wooden plate or something like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But in this case, I wanted like the profile to go around itself. So I'm just gonna showcase. I think I might have an example of what I'm trying to do. Yeah, this is the kind of the complete solution. So what I want is
Mm.
to have something like this, where the profile of the rail kind of turns around, revolve actually.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm going to show how to do that. So I'm going to create a new termination family using metric railing terminations here. And so the first thing that I do, I'm going to import or load the profile of the rail into this family as a reference.
Hmm.
So I'm going back here. Let me find the profile. Oh, let's say that I'm doing this with the so-called cat head profile. This one. So I'm going to load it into my new family. And what I'm going to do is to create a sweep. And so I'm just going to sketch the path between these two reference planes like this. So maybe I went a little quickly. I'm going to go redo this again. So I go to the Create tab. I select the Sweep tool.
And now you're in the reference level, right? You're in the floor plan view.
Yeah, floor plan view.
Just so everyone's following, making sure.
Yeah. I'm using the sketch path. And I'm just creating a path like this. Click the green check. And then I can select the profile that I've just loaded before. Just like this. And so I have in my family this profile, but that's not what we want to do. We just created this as a reference. Mm-hmm. So now I'm going to go to the left elevation, left view. And now I'm going to create a revolve shape. So click on revolve. And I'm using the boundary line, and I'm going to sketch only half of it. Since it's a revolve, I don't need to do the whole profile. Just half of it is fine. So like this, and to create the ellipse, I'm just gonna draw a reference here. And I pick the ellipse tool here.
It had to be an ellipse, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So I'm deleting this, and I'm using the split tool over here to split it here and there. Deleting this and dragging the boundaries like this, and finally closing the little line. So it's basically half the profile. And I'm going to select the axis line here and create a line, the axis line on the reference plane. And so for now, I'm just going to click on the green check. I'm going to go to the 3D view to see what's happening. Okay, so now I can delete this. I can delete the sweep because the sweep was only there as a reference, so I could draw.
I was just gonna say, so you brought that sweep in just so that you can draw the revolve using the sweep. So
yeah, that's right. I guess you could do it if you have a really simple profile. Maybe you could just sketch it directly. But since it's a complicated shape, I wanted to import a profile. So I'm going to delete this. And now here, I don't want this full thing. I don't want the full revolve. I want kind of a half revolve so it can insert itself into the shape of the rail. And the end angle here, instead of 360, I'm going to put minus 80 degrees like this. And so that's my shape, basically. And here, so it's not really a parametric family. There's no parameter or no dimensions that I can change. I guess I could do a parametric family if I wanted.
Right.
But it's not really necessary in this case. I'm just going to move this here. And a final thing, I think I have to go to the front elevations. The way terminations family work is that you have to put the center of the termination on the center reference plane. So I'm just gonna take, it is. It's different from the rail profile. It took me a while to figure out, but basically I'm gonna move this, and I make sure to pick the center of the shape here and move it over here. So I'm gonna save this with whatever name. Cat family, whatever. And I'm gonna load it. Oh yeah, final thing I just had before load it, add a material parameter. So I'm gonna assign, gonna click the small rectangle here and assign termination material. Click on OK. And then I am ready to bring it into the project. I'm gonna click here. It's this one. And so I have this. Actually, you can insert termination anywhere, but that's not what I want to do, right?
Right.
So I'm going to go back to this initial family. And I'm going to edit the type, and then I'm going to edit the top rail. And I'm going to scroll down to terminations. And there is beginning and end parameter. So I'm going to assign to both of them. Like this. And there you go. I have my little profile.
Wow. So the termination, even though you're making it look like a raw, it's just a family. It's just a chunk of family that's just gets placed on the end, basically. So that's right. I've never used it, and so when you first showed it as revolve, I'm thinking, is he just going to bring a profile and it's going to revolve, or do kind of like when you wrap like a wall wrap if you're returning the sweep or something. But it's just a chunk, so you can put. In theory, you can make that whatever the heck you want, right? But I guess you could also do, if you had sort of like an ornate continuation of the rail that sort of rolls over and does something. I guess you could build that and it just pops on, right? So,
you can do it whatever you want.
In theory, you're just building a family, as most people would do that in place, right? But
by
building
I guess
it out of place,
the advantage is if I modify the path, well, it's gonna follow, but if you create in place, it's gonna be a mess.
I agree. I'm just saying, like, that's how most people would do it. But the reality is, if you know how to do it in place, you're basically doing the same thing. You're just building it in this the family environment so that you can attach it to it. So I was trying to make the connection there for the way people probably would normally do it versus versus how you could do it now that you know a termination exists.
Yeah, well, that's something I learned in the last few months. Terminations.
I'm telling you, I can't even tell you how many times I've seen that setting in the rail settings, and I'd never even thought of using it. So I appreciate that. And I'm sure I'm not the only one out there.
Yeah, the thing is, you're always going to have a line here in 3D view.
So although that join, even if the material is the same or anything, it'll be.
Yeah, that's right. Even if the same material doesn't join. But what I did, in the project, I have a few 3D views that shaded 3D views, and it's kind of a cheat, but I've used the line work tool.
Yeah, you just hide the line work. And I mean, I guess in theory, in the renderings, it won't look bad if it's all the same material. But
renderings. But I do use in the sheets a few
elevations, and even in plan you'll see the lines, right? Because so that is a little bit of. I'm actually kind of surprised at that. If I guess I'm not that surprised.
And I don't know why, but you have to click like 10 times before the line.
Oh, maybe there's you're seeing invisible. Maybe there's multiple lines. There's the end of the rail, then there's the profile.
Yeah, look,
you know what
if
I mean?
I click once, still there. Another time, still there.
Wow.
Again, and eventually it goes away. But
nice. Well, it's good to know, I guess. Pros and cons, right?
Awesome. But it works. It's pretty useful actually.
Super.
And I guess there's multiple ways you could use termination families.
Yeah.
Instead of sometimes you can have a custom path that I'm going to show later. But if you have, it's always the same thing. It's a very specific profile. Instead of editing your path every time, you could use this custom termination.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Super neat.
And instead of a profile like the rail itself, it's actually a family.
Yeah, I was just checking to see if there's any. First of all, people clearly are enjoying the termination because they know about it, which is awesome. Earlier, Vinny, thanks for joining, Vinny. He asked, I think when we were talking about the baluster going up to the bottom. And I was asking the question about how it connects. I think he was asking if there's if you've kind of figured out a way to make that a clean connection. So I think I guess the example where I could
over there?
No, underneath the rail. Remember when I was saying how does it go up to it? So I mean, I guess what I could see is if you have a round railing and that's how it's terminating, that's not great for the sake of it. So I guess the question is, have you went down that road of trying to figure that out, or is it's just what you said, it's just hitting geometry and there's no way to control that?
Well, there's a workaround, but it's not very clean. If you're like, for example, for rendering, you really need them to extend. What you can do is to have a separate railing family only for balusters and a separate one only for the top rail.
And then you can smush them into each other.
And then you have kind of a fake top rail profile, just kind of little profile. Maybe I can try this actually. Why not? Right.
And that's kind of why I was asking too about if you saw of any way to use like a reference, because it uses the reference plane for the top rail, right? That's how it adjusts it. But there's nothing telling it that, hey, when I'm being used as a host for balusters, this is where you stop. There's nothing really saying that.
I quickly like that. I don't think so. Maybe there's a way. I don't know about it if there's one. But what I would do, let's say I duplicate this, and I'm going to call it top rail only, and then I get rid of all the balusters. So I wouldn't really recommend doing this if
it's risky
per se. But if you need like a really clean rendering, that's what I would do, and then I can get rid of the handrail too, I guess.
And Vinny's asking if join works. I don't think join works for railings, join geometry type of thing.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
So rail, I'm gonna. There you go, and then I'm gonna paste the railing again at the same place, but I'm gonna go back. Wait, what's this type called? P7X1. Okay. And then on this one, I'm gonna duplicate it again. And this one I'm gonna call no top rail. And I'm just gonna uncheck this. No, wait, actually I need a top rail.
You
but I
need
need a
something
really
to go to.
small
Yeah.
profile. I need a miniature profile. Maybe I don't have it
Yeah.
yet. A circular. Let's see.
Yeah, I think even if you put a different profile, I think that would at least illustrate the point. Okay, or blow it up. Either one.
Yeah, let me go. I'm gonna find the profile family here. Support no. The rail circular. I gotta find the profile. Circular handrail. Okay, let's say I'm using this one. And I'm gonna make it just 5mm. This. Switch to the 5mm. For some reason, the baluster seems to be having some problem. Yeah, I think it's this one. I'm just gonna put back the top rail element here, and it should be fixed. Yeah, it's working, except it's a little too high. So
you'd make the height.
Yeah. I'm just gonna adjust that until it works.
There you go. That makes sense.
Okay, so now it seems to be working.
Nice. So
that it's kind of a cheap workaround. I don't recommend it, but if you need renderings and somebody's like, what's going on with the joint, that's something you could do. And there's also other reasons why you would want to separate the top rail from the balusters. That's actually what I had to do in some of the ancestral railings I've been working on. So we'll get to that later.
Awesome. And actually, I think so. Stan asked a question about continuous rails, and I think this will be, I think you'll get into this in sort of the transitions and some of those things going on. So we'll Stan hold your horses. I think he'll probably hit some of your questions when we jump into transitions and stuff. Maybe it's a good time to jump into it, I guess.
For sure it is. Well, it's transition. I'm gonna go here. I'm just gonna adjust the view here. So basically, transitions are set to individual rails. So you set a specific transition style to the top rail, another one for the handrail. They're not really in the railing setting per se. So for example, here, the transition style for this top rail is none. As you can see, there's a gap here.
That's what every Revit model on the planet looks like right now.
Yeah.
A majority of the Revit models on the planet look like right now.
So if I edit this railing and I go to the top rail type, you can see. So I'm gonna do this again. I'm going fast sometimes. But okay, I edit the railings. I have my top rail here, and if I click here, there's 3 small dots, which lets me access the top rail properties. So I'm gonna go there, and here on this property here, this parameter, it's called transitions, and I have 3 options: none, gooseneck, and simple. So this type is set to none, and this is gooseneck. Wait, is this simple? No, this is simple transition, and this is gooseneck. So I do have an image on my PDF. Maybe I'm just gonna scroll down to show it. Transition. Oh yeah, there you go. So none, simple, and gooseneck.
And those are the only 3 options you have, right?
It is, yeah. And if you want something else, then you have to get a little funky.
See, one of the things that always shocked me about railings and that setting specifically is why the default isn't simple. I don't know, because it's just when you look at none and almost every condition that none creates, it's pretty much a non-realistic condition that none is creating almost all the time, right?
And you always get that stupid warning of, oh, the rail is non-continuous. It's super annoying.
Right. And so you may get some weird stuff with simple that is also non-realistic, but at least it's continuous, and then you can look at it. But to me, that always blew my mind. It's one of those things where I don't know why default wasn't just simple, and I actually don't know. I mean, I guess I don't know what situation you would have a continuous sketch of a rail and you'd want none. Is that, you know what I mean? Because I don't know. I mean, especially like when it skips and jumps like you're showing
Yeah,
there.
that's a good point. I don't know why you would use that.
I don't think that you know
Mhm.
that none there is a real world condition. I
Okay,
guess.
and I think that would be a good time to go to join,
Hmm.
which is another feature that I've learned about. I didn't know before, and I've got to use it. So do I have my little PDF here? I'm just going to go to join part. Join. Yeah, there you go. So when we're talking about joins, you have two options, midder and fillet. Fillet, whatever you call it.
Depends on where you are in the world.
Yeah, and so on the left, you got midder, which is orthogonal, which is straight lines. And on the right, you have fillet, which is a curved transition. And when you're using the fillet style join, you get the fillet radius options that becomes available.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two ways to change the joints in Revit on Revit Railings. The first one, this one, will affect all the joints if you modify it directly in the properties of the top rail or the handrail. So as you can see in this image, every single transition, whether it be vertical or horizontal,
Mm-hmm.
is going to have a radius, a fillet value of 50 millimeters.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to show.
Yeah, I was just going to say it. And so,
how to do that.
So yeah, that's selecting the top rail, right? Specifically,
That's right.
and then setting the global or the properties for that specific top rail.
Yeah, so I have this 3D view here. Right now, it's using the midder, which most rails are using, the orthogonal transitions. So let's say I'm going here, and I go to my top rail properties, once again, by clicking the three small dots here. And I have my default joint set to midder. I'm going to switch it to fillet, and I'm going to use a fillet radius of 50. What's going on here? Okay, if I put 25, the fillet radius is smaller than the profile size.
I was just gonna say, I bet fillet, the one issue you run into with fillet all the time is going to be the amount.
Oh, that's strange. Maybe it's because of the specific profile. If I switch it. That's strange. Let me go back here. Okay, well, I'm going to showcase then the way you can do it individually, and then maybe I'm going to go back. I'm going to make it this circular, actually. I don't like this orthogonal style. So I'm going to pick this. There we go. And so in Revit with railings, you can select the whole railing like this. But you can also, if you're using tab, you can select the top rail element. So I'm going to click on tab, which let me select only the top rail. And when you do that, you have access to a little button here, which is called Edit Rail. I'm going to click on that. And then I have a few options, but I'm going to click on Edit Path. And then finally, here, I'm going to click on Edit Rail Joins. I'm going to click here. And then I have these little snaps. So for every transition, whether it be with an angle here, whether it is vertical transition or a horizontal like this, I can click. And then I can switch here. By default, it's by type. I'm going to switch to fillet. My code is support. Okay, that doesn't matter. And I can switch the value like this.
Nice.
So it's a small value. Did you know about this?
I did
learned
not
about
actually.
this recently.
No, I did not. I didn't.
Okay.
That's deep. That's so just to walk everyone through again. It's tab select railing, then then edit rail,
edit path, edit rail joins. Yeah, that no wonder no one knows about this. It's like
that's so Revit though, right? I mean, that's just that's such a Revit move right there. Awesome.
But I can set individual values like this. So 150 here.
And honestly, that's probably the way you would want to do it most of the time, because what you
Yeah,
were showing with the global, what's going to
yeah,
happen there is you're going to run into those issues. But even
mhm,
like that little corner you're showing right now,
mhm,
odds
yeah,
are you may fillet that corner, but
hmm
you may not want
yeah,
to that lower joint, right? Because the construction of that probably won't be filleted. You know what I mean? So it does make
yeah,
sense to me that would
yeah.
be.
To sit it individually. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't.
yeah. It's
There's
a
not that many
pain, but
cases.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Um,
Neat.
and
Did
and
I'm gonna ask everyone out there who on the chat to let us know
who knew about
if you
that?
knew
Yeah.
about that. I'd love to hear it.
So
Awesome.
something to know about if, like I said, there were a big value, like say 300 here. Did it work? It did. Okay, I'm gonna put something even bigger. Let's say 600. Then I get a warning. It's because
Mm-hmm.
basically the transition would be the radius so big that it would
Mm-hmm.
extend over to the next joints.
Mm-hmm.
So it caused a conflict, and Revit doesn't like that, so
Right.
it stops you from doing it. So and when I say to the next joint, I'm talking about this line
Mm-hmm.
here. Sometimes there's kind of randomly placed joints, like why is there joints here?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that would be the limit. Once the
Right. Right.
radius goes beyond that, Revit doesn't like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or maybe is it my? Oh yeah, okay. This line is actually it's the radius value that I set, so it moves around.
Mm-hmm.
But every once in a while, you're gonna see, especially if you have extensions, you might
Nice.
have it placed at random place.
Nice. It
But
looks like some
yep,
people knew about it, but some people did not.
hmm
So we got
yeah,
half and half for now. So awesome. Good on you guys.
yeah.
Some
So
people might
already
spend a
there,
little more
and
time in Rails, I guess, than some others.
yeah, so already there, you kind of have a hint of how I managed to build an ancestral railing thing.
Mm-hmm.
An issue though about this, there's a few inconveniences. The first is look at the balusters here.
Mm-hmm. Lovely.
Yeah,
So in that situation, because I'm sure someone's
yeah,
gonna ask, there you would probably do a radius in the path, right? To instead of
yeah,
in the top
yeah.
rail.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
But again, it's
So
kind of against it goes against sort a little bit using that
so
tool. But
so
yeah.
so I'm gonna copy the stairs. I'm gonna another little tip. You can click on reset railing. It's gonna go back to default. Which is you have to be careful with that though. If you
Mm-hmm.
work all the little transitions, it's gonna
Gone.
mess you up. But let's say here I'm going to create a fillet value here directly. Where is the fillet tool? There it is. Okay, radius. I'm gonna set let's say 50. I click on the two lines. So I put it directly on the railing path, on the purple boundary lines of the railing. Usually when you do that, balusters will work.
Mm-hmm.
So you could argue that if you're going to do something like that, it's better to do it in
Yeah.
the path itself.
You are still dealing with now. You're creating an end to the path, right? So that's why you're getting
Mm-hmm.
those extra balusters there. So you have to figure.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So you're creating two ends basically
Mm-hmm.
instead of one end. So you may run into that
Mm-hmm.
issue too. But there's it all depends on what you get doing, I guess, right?
Yeah, well, I don't want to get too deep into balusters, but that's always something that you can fix. For example, a start post. I'm just going to remove all the starts and corner posts in this family. Center existent fill break pattern. Yeah, the break pattern at I'm going to put never.
Mm-hmm.
Just like this.
Right.
And so there's the same spacing. Mm-hmm. But then again, maybe that's not exactly what you want.
Right,
do you really want this?
Right in the middle? Yeah. But at least you do have some of the options, right? And so understanding your options, then you can figure out what path makes sense for whatever it is that you're trying to create. I guess.
So I would say that the radius trick is great for a vertical transition, but in certain case for a horizontal transition like this one, you might run into issues. But then again, this is the projects I've been showing you. Mm-hmm. And what I had to do, it's since I have so many strange transitions. Mm-hmm. So I have my main balusters here. Mm-hmm. But I had to create kind of a railing family that I put directly, which is kind of it's a cop out. It's not a very BIM way of working, but I didn't find any better way of doing it. Mm-hmm. And I have, For example, here I have an angle that I can change where the weight cuts here. Oh,
Got it. So that's just, and what how is that hosted? Is that just a work plane? Is that face based? I mean, what made sense for this?
I think it's
just generic model, something like that started.
but it's considered as a railing family.
Yeah, categorized.
But okay. it's kind of similar to a generic model, yeah. So maybe there's a better way to do it.
So then that top rail though is the top rail. It's just now
it is a top rail.
You couldn't get the balusters to do what it is that you need, which
Well, it was not perfect. I wanted perfect placement and it was getting too hard. And especially in a baluster like this, for example, like if I was playing with the baluster tool itself, the railing tool, it didn't quite went exactly where I wanted it to be. So
yeah, one of the things I think would be neat, and I've always thought would be neat, is kind of like with what you can do with the supports with balusters is why aren't they like pinned objects like a curtain wall and then just unpin it and shift it? I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's right. That would be great.
Make so much sense, right?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think a lot of this.
Let's put it on the wish list they got over there, and then everyone watching this, all 200 of us, let's all say that should go.
And so since we're on the topic, maybe I can jump a little on this railing that I've made.
Let's do it. By the way, people are saying beautiful work, by the way, so congrats.
Thanks.
It is beautiful, yes.
Thanks. And so here you can look, this railing is all wrong. The transition are not working at all. And the first thing that you need to do is the transition style, which is right now, I think it's set at simple. So I'm going to duplicate this. I'm just going to change the style, duplicate this again. And the transition, remember we have the tree style. We have none, gooseneck, and simple. So I'm going to use gooseneck here. So already it's much better, although I have some issues with balusters once again. So I think that's why in the completed example, I've just separated the balusters from the top rail. But I don't think I'm gonna go through the whole process in there. But again, to have the curve transition like I have in here, I would click on Edit Rail, Edit Path, Edit Rail Joins, click here, change by type to fillet, and then I can set my value. Is it 100? No, it's too big. Maybe 50. There we go.
Awesome. See, and that's an example that makes sense where that may be fillet, but then the other corner may be mitered, right? I mean, I'm not saying it is, but in a lot of conditions that may be how it's built, and so that's why to me it's almost like this method makes more sense. Yeah. In most realistic situations, I guess.
So there we go.
Nice.
So that's basically the spirit of how you would do it. I will say the issue, though, if you look at the railings, the design that I have is that the vertical transition is actually not vertical. It has a small angle. So how do you deal with that? Well, you can't. There's no default way to deal with it. And so what I had to do, maybe that leads me to the next topic, I had to split the railings into little segments. And here I'm using the extension, not the extension, but the edit path, and I drew a custom profile. So maybe I'm just gonna showcase what I mean by that. Custom extension path. Yeah, okay, I'm just gonna go there. So let's say I have this railing, I'm back to my initial railing, and by default, this one has an extension. And again, I'm going to select the top rail. I'm gonna click Edit Rail. I'm gonna click on Edit Path. And what I can do is the main part of the railing, which is in the purple boundary line section, you cannot modify it at all. except for the joints.
Right.
But it's fixed, right? But everything that is an extension, like this is an extension of it, you can modify it. I could decide to delete it, but I can basically draw whatever shape I want. Let's say like this, and then I go horizontal, like this. Whatever. Sometimes it can get a little buggy if you have weird profiles.
Right. So that's because the rail had an extension on
yeah.
it, right?
Yes, I'm gonna reset, and maybe it's a good time to explain the extension style. I have all them. There's 4 extension style. One is none, but you can still create an extension with none. There's wall, there's floor, and there's post. I'm gonna go to the 3D view of all of these. I hope it's not too much information at the same time for
No, I think it's
there.
great. I don't.
Okay.
I mean, no one seems to be running away from it. So.
Okay, so this would be transition style none. No, extension style none, because the rail just keeps going.
Mm-hmm.
But still, if I go to my top rail properties, you can see the extension style is none, but I have a length of 300. So even though it's none, you can still set a length. I didn't know about that. Basically, I thought to have an extension, you needed to pick between the 3 options, but you can keep none and still have a value.
And that's just opening up the door for you to edit the profile of it, right? If you wanted. I mean, that's
yeah,
what
but
that could do.
Yeah, but you don't have to. You could like completely remove the value here. Like this. So just a basic normal railing. And if once again I go to edit the rail, click path.
Oh, you can draw without it.
Yeah, you can draw it
as long as it's not within the magenta sketch lines, basically.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Neat.
So just to explain to people the magenta sketch line. So this is like the main part of the railing, and the extension are the part that goes beyond this. So basically it doesn't. Yeah, it's a place where there's no balusters or intermediate rails. They all stop, but the top rail or the handrail, which can also be used with this extension,
awesome,
can be modified. And there's other styles. There's an extension style that is specific to handrails. It doesn't work with others. With top rail, it is extension style wall. Basically, it flips around. And it doesn't really have to go to the wall. It actually goes to, I'm going to showcase this. It actually goes to the purple boundary line of the railing. So if I was to move this, you can see it doesn't go to the wall. It just goes to the line itself.
But then when you edit the sketch of that, just so everyone's following along, that now you have the ability to edit that part, that segment, right? That's coming off.
That's right. Yeah. You could edit the path, and can you actually?
So now I think what you're doing, right, is now you're in a different work plane, or no, I guess it's not.
It's a little tricky,
wild, actually.
Because usually it's the same direction, but I've run into some issues working with a wall type extensions. So be careful with that. And as you can see here, maybe I can talk. Maybe it leads me to talking about supports at the same time. So this is a handrail. This is a family. I don't have a top rail in this family. I don't have any balusters either. I just have a top rail, a handrail, sorry. And what is interesting in the handrail is that you have a hand clearance value. Do you know about that?
Yeah, that's the offset. It's like an offset, right? I think.
Basically, it's the hole between the purple boundary line and the beginning of the handrail. I think I have an image on my PDF. It might be a little more clear. And clearance. There we go. Let's say this is the handrail, for example. So and clearance is the distance between the purple boundary line and the beginning of your rail. It's basically, in the code requirements, you need to have some space to put your hand around the rail. So this is the way it calculates it.
Right. So I think what you're getting at now is
Hmm.
most people who would draw what you're showing right now would
Hmm.
be the magenta line, the sketch. They would actually
Hmm.
draw it right with the
Hmm.
extension and draw it like a C shape or whatever, right, or U shape.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you're using the hand clearance correctly, you're actually just drawing a
Yeah.
straight line against the
Hmm.
wall, right? I mean that's essentially
Yeah.
what the sketch of this is, right? Neat.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. If you're using a handrail that is placed on a wall, that's the way you should do it. Your purple boundary line should be on the wall
Mm-hmm.
itself,
Mm-hmm.
directly on the wall, and then you use the hand clearance value.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, you have a projection value here that is the hand clearance plus the width of the rail. It's kind of, you cannot change this value. It's just an automatic value.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess this profile has
It's telling you what
a
it
width of 50 millimeters.
Mm-hmm.
I hope metric units are fine for
Yeah, come
viewers.
on. I say it all the time. I wish I could use metric
Yeah.
instead of imperial, but it is what it is.
Yeah, but it's weird. In Canada, we use both. You know, residential
Mm.
work is mostly in imperial units, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
government projects are in the metric, so it's kind of a mess. But
I guess
anyway.
I guess it's good then you're using Revit because then you don't have to worry
Yeah,
about really thinking about it, and
yeah,
you could technically work in one
yeah.
the
You can
entire
have both.
time, right? And
That's
not.
right. Yeah,
But it does get a little. It does. I'm sure.
yeah,
You know, when you're looking at different pieces of information and they're showing different dimensions, it could be a little confusing. I'm sure.
yeah. Uh, and I would just want to showcase. Let's say I modify the hand clearance value. So look at what happens to my handrails. You can see that the supports extend, so which will lead me to talk about support. And I think I'll have to reset that. So I just
There you go.
reset. And so the wall extension will always go all the way back to the purple boundary line. I think this one,
Which
yeah,
again leads you to the whole idea of when you do this correctly, the purple
Yep.
boundary line is actually just
Yeah.
against your wall, which is
That's right. I'm
not.
gonna align it to the
Yeah.
wall, and now it fits perfectly. So that's the way you should do it. It's less of a
Awesome.
pain.
So cool.
And it's something that since we're talking about handrails, that might leads me to talk about supports. So another case that I had in the ancestral project is that I had it's a renovation, so everything is weird, and there was multiple walls, with different distance from the stairs. It's kind of a mess, on the levels. So I had to figure out how to place the handrail properly and all the supports. So this is the example. Let's say I have the supports here, and it's fine, they're placed on the wall. But then what happened when you go to this wall? Well, actually, it's not that complicated, because you can select a support here. I'm going to unpin it, and it's going to have a specific hand clearance value that I can modify. Let's say, I don't know what value I need. Let's say 100, but it's going to extend. This has to be made in the support family, though. So this is the kind of the default Autodesk family. But if you make a custom family, you have to add in this parameter. Okay. Yeah. Also, it's not enough. Let's say 150. Seems good enough. I guess that's about it.
So now, because it's unpinned, if you modify the railing path, is it gone? Is it what? To what extent is it holding on to the railing path?
That's a good question. I would have to try, but. Yeah, did it move?
I couldn't tell if it moved.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it did move.
It did look like it might have moved.
Am I right?
Okay.
I'm not sure. Anyway. But once again, you unpin it, and then you change the end clearance value here.
Super cool.
And when you're placing, and again, I have this little exercise, but again, you can modify the positioning. Like this,
because they're unpinned, right?
Because they're unpinned, yeah.
Super cool.
And just some of you might be wondering, how do you activate the supports? Well, again, I'm going to go to the type. As you can see, there's no top rail in this railing family. I'm going to scroll down, find handrail number 1, and I'm going to click here and scroll down a little bit. I have my supports, and there's multiple layout options. What do I usually use? I think it's usually maximum spacing, which is the one that makes the most sense. But often I have to unpin them and kind of manually adjust them in the end.
Right. Awesome. Somebody just mentioned also if you repin the support, it resets. Which So that I'm assuming that also resets the distance too.
Yeah, right? Yeah. That's right. Good point.
So you got to be wary of that, I guess.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And there's something else I wanted to mention about this. Let me just modify this. Oh yeah, since I think in one of the most recent versions of Revit, they introduced this little arrow. So this is to indicate the beginning and the end of the railing. So the arrow points, this is the beginning or the bottom of the railing, and this is the end of the railing. So what is this important for? Well, for example, if you have terminations, so I'm going to go back to the handrail. Let's use a termination that I already created, and I'm going to put it at the beginning. Let's say I use this one. It's not going to fit, but that's okay. So I have this transition here, and it is set to the beginning of the rail. But if I go here and I click like this, oh, it's still there. No, that's because the whole railing flipped. Yeah, that's because of the handrail. Oh my god. Yeah, but railings are strange with that too, because there's the arrows tool, directly in the here that can change. But let's say I go here, but there's also the flip arrows, which basically do the same thing. So it's a little confusing, to be honest. Unless but somebody can explain the difference. But
I guess the good thing there is just knowing that if you need to control start and end, like for example, your support distances or what you were showing there, like then you at least know that there's a way to signify that or figure out where the beginning and the end of your rail is.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe it's going to be a little more obvious with the top rail. Let me try it. So let's say I have this top rail, and I'm going to set termination at the beginning. Like this. And I hope it's going to work. So if I flip it, no, it's still at the bottom. Maybe it's because of the stairs. You're gonna change it.
I was just gonna say that. I wonder if it's because it's hosted to a stair, and it just always wants to be top and bottom with a stair, where up and down is type of thing. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure everyone out there right now can feel how confusing Revit can be to everybody. They feel our pain.
Yeah, but I guess then it would be if you create. Let me just try something quickly to see if.
Try hosting it differently.
Yeah, I think if you host it to a floor, the arrows. Yeah, okay. There we go. Okay, so this is a railing hosted on the floor. So Revit doesn't really know where's the beginning of the hand because it's not a stair. Then it should be working like this. So if I flip the arrows, that's right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So on the stairs, it's gonna be really flipped, but on this case, you can switch to what is considered the beginning and end, which works for terminations, but also for the extension, which can be set to beginning and bottom. So let's say I set an end extension, but floor, let's say 200. There we go. So I have an extension that goes all the way to the floor here.
And you can change
that, and you can change it. If I click on the arrows, it's flipped.
Awesome.
And it's basically, when you create a railing, let's say it's hosted on a floor like that, the first line you're going to draw is going to be the beginning. So it's going to be on the draw order.
Awesome. Sweet. All right, we're getting near the end here. Is there anything
Yeah,
else you
okay.
wanted to show to wrap it up? Is there anything you missed? Want to
Uh,
make sure you hit all your points here, Nick.
yeah, Terminator. I can't talk about. Yeah, I mean, I could talk about
No,
hours about
no,
it.
this is
I guess
great,
that.
man.
So I guess something cool is the landing height adjustment. That's also something really nice I've learned about.
Sure, let's wrap it up with that.
I think I need to show that because I remember there was a project I was working on, and the guy who modeled the railings created. I'm not blaming him, by the way. It's something I might have done too, but he created different railings for the landing because they had to be higher.
Mm-hmm.
But if, like in this example, for example, as you can see in the stair run, the railing has a certain height.
Yeah.
But in the landing, it's much higher. So that would be here directly in the railing properties. I check the use landing height adjustment, and I've set 500. So that means on the landing, it's going to be 500 higher than on the run.
And that's
So
for
you
that
don't have to
specific
create
type.
different
So
type.
so then the inner railing on that rail you're looking at right now, that's a different type then, because it looks like that's not at 500. The inside of the stair.
You mean over here?
No, the other rail, the other railing on the stair. Yeah.
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one doesn't use.
Yeah. No, I was just making a point. So
yeah.
you can control that separately if you just use different types. It's a type setting essentially.
Yeah. So I switch it so it's the same, so like this. But that's not all. So that's the way to do it. But what I've learned recently is that there's also another way you can do it, is to edit the path here and select a purple boundary line, and you have the height correction. So you can do it for segment for each line. That's when it gets tricky. But you can select custom here, and let's say I'm going to put 700. So it goes beyond my section box.
That's awesome. I mean, it's awesome, but also a little terrifying because that when you're in the pink lines and magenta lines and you're doing that kind of stuff, when it comes to someone else figuring out what the hell happened, that can be rough, right? Doing it by type is much easier for people to figure out, change, understand, but doing it within a sketch. But then again, now you have you have the ability to make something extremely custom if need be, right? So that's what's key there. To me, as like and I'm sure anyone out there who's in charge of managing the models, for example, maybe scared of that, just because imagine trying to troubleshoot or find that within a model, right? It's
I agree.
It'd be terrifying.
That would be crazy. Maybe a final thing that I can show, the railing slope override. That's also something I didn't know existed. So let's say I have this little railing here. I'm going to select it and click on edit path. And let me show here. So yeah, you can set a slope actually. Like I have.
Wow, I had no idea that even existed.
Yeah, that's wild.
And so that's the slope of the rail. So the base is going to stay the same. It's the top rail.
So let's say I set it like this. Let me show what happens. Yeah, as you can see, I just created a small slope only on this segment. So let's say I put minus 300 like this. So now it's a little more obvious.
Wow.
So again,
that is cool. I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's another one of those things that I can see being useful for things even beyond just railings. When you're using railings for other things other than railings, I should say.
So as you see here, I did create a slope, and you have to need to use the height correction in this case if you want to slope. But since the two adjacent segments
are not sloping or moving,
yeah,
interesting.
But then again, just so many things. And then there's the edit joins properties here, but I'm not going to get into that. It's it's a little crazy, but if you want to play around, you can.
Awesome.
Or something else that you could do is, let's say this one is, I'm going to put it slope, but this one is by type. But let's say this one I'm going to put it 500 above, and this one, I'm going to put it minus 500. And this one, it's set to sloped. Again, problem with my section box.
Because it's set to slope, so it's going to make the difference between the two. That's neat. Super cool.
So that's something I didn't know about until recently.
No, that's so cool. Wow. Awesome. I was just checking to make sure there was no final questions from people as we're wrapping up.
Is there?
The only
get to check.
question that came up a couple times was just questions about multi-story stairs, and I think that could be an entire other episode. I think.
Oh yeah.
What I'll add to that is, I guess, just take some of the tips that Nick just showed you and think about how those can help with multi-story stairs. Because I do think that a lot of what you showed can help making something continuous. I think the biggest issue people run into is they end up splitting and making 1,000 railings to get it done.
Yep.
Which, as you showed on the ancestral stair thing, like, you sometimes have to do something like that, right? But if you have a very consistent, simple, let's say commercial style stair, I think using the knowledge that you just showed us and the tools that exist, you could probably get away with making a pretty nice multi-story stair. Or maybe what they're asking too about is like the actual multi-story stair tool instead of making multiple stairs. But I don't know. I don't, unless you have anything to add to that, I'm not really sure if that's a topic
to the multi-stair. Yeah, it's a whole topic. We can get into it, but
I think so.
maybe on the next one we could have a whole session just about that.
Well, this was fantastic. I think everyone's loving it. We got some great comments, and thanks for coming on again, Nick. Always great
that
to
was
have
fun.
You. Any final words before we wrap this thing up?
Yeah, well, the pamphlets are released. It's actually part 1 of Railings, because I'm working on the part 2, which is mostly going to be about balusters, and maybe I'm gonna dig into multi-stairs too.
There we go. All right.
It's such a huge topic. Even with 40 pages, it's not enough to cover everything I wanted.
And
so stay tuned.
Those pamphlets can be, it's revitpure.com/free, right?
Yeah, that's right. All the pamphlets are there. I actually created also other URL, which is revitpure.com/railings, where everything I ever wrote about railings, all the videos I made about it is awesome. I actually have another video, which is more for beginners. If you're on this stream and you're a beginner and everything we talk about is too advanced for you, maybe you could look at the beginner video I made first,
and then come watch the stream again.
Come back to the stream after that.
Awesome, man. So revitpure.com/free, revitpure.com/railings.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm also producing small videos about this topic. I'm releasing one every Tuesday and every Friday.
Great.
Basically on the all these properties like endurance, transitions. 2 videos a week until the end of the month, and then I might do a solo live stream.
Sweet.
I'm going to do a solo live stream on November 25th. I need to figure out the detail, but it's also going to be about railing. So basically, until the end of the year, everything is about railing for me and Revit Pure. Yeah, railings. And then I'm going to get so tired of railings next year. I'm gonna find something else.
And then you can come back on and show us the next thing that you're diving into. Awesome. And I'm assuming they can find out all about those at revitpure.com. And
that's right.
And your YouTube stream, I believe, you can just find that through revitpure.com. Awesome. Well, man, thank you so much for coming on again. This is
thanks for the invitation. That was really fun.
Yeah, of course. And everyone for joining us, thank you. We appreciate it. This is a lot of fun. Stay safe, be well, and we will talk to everyone later. My name is Jeff. Again, you can find this post and all the links we mentioned as well will be in the description here on YouTube, but also on my blog tomorrow. So just go over to revitkid.com. And I want to thank BIMbox again for sponsoring this episode. Definitely check out BIMbox. I really, I mean, as you can see, it's sitting back there. The thing is phenomenal. With that, I want to say have a lovely night, lovely weekend. Nick, thanks again, and we'll talk to everyone later.
Bye, everyone. See you.